Yes, roll call. Mr. Husnick,
I'm here.
Mr. Lynch,
Present.
Mr. Munson is not here. Mr. Schmidt is here. Mr. Steeler.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We need to know if there's any changes or additions to the minutes from the last meeting, and if not, do we have a motion to approve them?
Go ahead. Well, I just wanted, Mr. Chairman, the one thing about the minutes, it says in there, that was a motion by city staff, Dave Adams, to be responsible for the annual maintenance, including spare parts for the winter storage of the mower, and the volunteers continue to utilize it. I don't remember that exactly happening that way, did it? Because I think what we wanted to do is not have anything to do with that tractor, is what I'm getting at. That was that little mower that's been.
Yeah, I remember that.
Been floating
Yes.
for a long time.
Yes, what line is that? What line number is that?
Well, there's no line number on my,
You probably have the emailed,
oh, you know what, that's not even in the minutes, that's in today's,
that's today's, part of today's
second.
agenda, or?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I mistook that as being a motion that,
Yeah, the minutes of the lawn tractor being used by volunteers, Undum talked with Dave Adams, no record of it
Right,
being
right.
a city asset. We can't maintain it, the city will instead surplus it, so they donate it to the EAA chapter at the airport.
yeah, okay. All right, so then Mark, why don't you go ahead with your motion to approve?
I've read the minutes, and I approve them as written.
Motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second.
And a second. Do we have any other discussion on the minutes? No other discussion on the minutes. Do we, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. We have no nays. It passes unanimously. All right. We will move on to item number 3. I see that Silas Parmar is not here this evening, so I assume Dan will cover that?
I am covering that, and I went through all the trouble too. I told Silas he has an official nameplate now. He doesn't get to use it tonight, but I did speak with him earlier this week. He submitted an update for me to review. Basically went over the master plan. It's all been submitted over to MnDOT. Hopefully they're gonna get their comments back in final review in January of in the next, hopefully by the January meeting. I know MnDOT's been a little bit slow in terms of getting their comments back. So we're just kind of waiting for final review back on MnDOT for the master plan and the ALP. Capital improvement plan, the updates have been made to that we had discussed previously, and also based on MnDOT comments that we had back when we met with MnDOT back in August. The funding that we did secure for the infield drainage project, that project was approved authorized by the Forest Lake City Council at the last meeting. So he is starting to work on that right now. I'm looking to bid that project out for next spring for a 2022 construction. So next year you should see some work take place for the infield drainage improvements. We are still waiting to hear back from them to see if we're on the list of exigent funding for the apron expansion, so we can get those tie-down areas paved in. I have continued to follow up with MnDOT and remind them that we do have the local match available if they do have extra funds left over from any of the original funds or any of the original grant dollars that were originally greenlit. If those projects don't come back in, if there's any extra funds that we would be able to locally match those. Have not heard anything yet at this point from MnDOT whether or not there are funds available. And then he also included in here is a copy of the most current CIP, which is what has been discussed quite extensively at previous meetings. Any questions on the capital improvement program? Big news, the fuel pump and card reader system has been installed at the airport. Not a moment too soon. I actually had to go out there and basically kick the pump to get it to go right before they got it installed. But it is now installed. It's a brand new pump, brand new dispenser, and a brand new card reading system as well. From what I can see on the back end when I get the reports, it seems like everything on the card reader is working as designed, and it seems, I haven't gotten any complaints on the pump, so it seems to be a lot better. So glad to get that installed and up to the 21st century there. So
Yeah, long time
That's wonderful.
coming.
And then just on that, from a staff level too, we no longer have to use the old SiteMinder software, which was a very old computer program that we had to maintain on a separate computer. It's now all cloud-based, so the reporting is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get everything, so it's a really nice upgrade to have that new pump system that's out there.
I just wish there was some way we could tell the flying public that it's fixed and it's ready for business, or open for business.
Yeah.
Yeah, word will spread.
The handful of pilots that I have seen out there, who had made comments about it, I had just told them that the new pump was on its way, so the next time they came out for fuel, that it would be up and operational. So, and I think as word does get out there that the new pump has been installed, I think it will go.
All right. Is that the extent of the,
That is what Silas had sent me.
okay. I noticed next on here is fix of the Pappies, and there's a nice little photograph here of a little burned out circuit.
Yes, so I have an update on that. So I talked to Casey, I forgot his last name, from MnDOT Aeronautics, actually this morning. He was, based on the conversation I had with MnDOT back in August, they were gonna send their lighting specialist out to take a look at the Pappies out there to determine what the actual issue was. I spoke with him this morning. He said, I'm in the area, can I swing by? I said, absolutely, have at it. Let me know if you need anything. He was out there today, opens up the panel and finds the burnt out control board. And he goes, I think I found out why your Pappies aren't working.
Yeah.
I have a quote from him, or from his lighting company, to get the replacement part, and it's actually gonna be ordered as soon as I get the application, or the credit application. And so I did authorize the order. That's all gonna be taken care of, and then Casey will be back out to assist with the install on it, so.
Do they have to change that whole board, I suppose, or?
The whole board, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, given that it's, an aeronautic part. I figured it'd be pretty expensive. It's only $390 for that
Oh, that's-
board. So that's,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
nothing.
complaining about, we're looking at what's on there. I'm like, that's.
But no idea why that particular circuit burned out.
He didn't have any idea beyond that he found out that this was probably the issue. When I was running through just some initial diagnostic stuff, like he was trying to do a little bit of troubleshooting with me over the phone. He said, has it always been working? Has it not been working? And I said, well, they've been intermittent since the start. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. He had mentioned that sometimes if one of the Pappy lights is slightly running out of a tilt, that'll trigger the system not to work. So he's like, that could be part of the issue. So he's got the alignment tool with him and was gonna go do all that alignment work. But I think when he found this, sort of stalled and said, I think this is the problem. We'll get a new one out there. When he comes out to do the install for this board, I'm also gonna ask him to see if he can't provide Public Works with some training on how to do the alignment tests out there, just so we can maintain that system as we go through the winter, to make sure that, we have staff that's trained on operation, and if we have to do alignments, that we're able to do the alignments out there. So I'm gonna ask him to see if he can't just give us a overview lesson of how the system works. We have somebody here who has a little bit better understanding of how the Pappy system works and how we have to align it.
Where's that board located? I mean, is it in that house there, that little power shed there?
Great question. I know he had to get into that power shed today, that little shed there, but this one looks like it could be out in the field, because I see.
Yeah, it looks like it's on a pedestal of some kind in the grass out there.
But yeah, or maybe it's part of the lights, the light box or something,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just curious, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I was not out there when he found this, but when he sent me the picture, I was like, that's pretty clear indicator as why it wouldn't be working.
Yeah.
If you have a fried
Well, it
panel like that.
just makes me wonder if water or something was getting in there,
And I talked to him before too. I want to say that I had heard when the system was first installed, there was some other board problems that had happened out there. That there was, if I recall, it never really worked well from the first day it got installed. They're always waiting for some parts to come. So I don't know if it's the same problem that's replicating itself here, or if it's something that's new, but we'll get a new board out there, we'll test it out there. This particular gentleman from MnDOT, this is what he does, this is his specialty, so he is the right person to have us do the diagnostics.
That's good.
They don't need to fly in again at the Pappies like they did before.
I believe he can do all that from he said if he got it up and running, he'd have the tests all done from whatever he was bringing out there.
probably what, a 3-degree or something like that.
Yeah, it was a little Greek to me. He's on the phone. He's like asking me these really technical questions, and I'm like, yeah, I really don't know that. So I'm like, I can give you some anecdotal evidence, but that's all I can give him at that point.
My question is, have we issued a note to them that they're not working?
There's one right out, there's one on there right now that says, at that time it was intermittent or unreliable. I believe it's out through the end of the year.
Oh, okay, good.
When I put it out originally, it was through the middle of October because I had thought MnDOT was gonna come out and take a look at it. That one expired on the 16th. I reissue it the following day through the end of the year, just to give us time to make sure. And once it's operational, I'll call and get that note removed.
You're right.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You'd hate for somebody to come in and rely on them and not for them to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it's intermittent or unreliable or what it says, but there is a notum that's out there that says don't rely on the copies.
All right, next item on the agenda is the sale of the tractor.
I finally have an update on this one. I can't take all the credit. I do have to give credit. We have a new manager of accounting, Kim, who reached back out to MnDOT. She used to work out there and knew a little bit, had some contacts there that I didn't have and was actually able to get the agreement through. So I give her a lot of credit for getting this across the goal line. But we do have an agreement with MnDOT and the city for a purchase price of $45,000. That price is based on the quote that we got, the trade-in quote that we got from the implement dealer that we typically buy all of our equipment through. Minnesota Equipment is where we got the original quote from, and that was $45,000 for the tractor, the mower, the hitch, and the plow. So it was a full package deal. They offered us $45,000 trade-in. MnDOT agreed that that was an agreeable amount to them for the purchase price. So we have agreement between the city and MnDOT for the purchase price. Based on the grant agreement that we have, 2/3 of that money goes back to MnDOT, and then 1/3 is retained locally. So $30,000 goes to MnDOT, $15,000 is retained locally. The original thought behind that was that the $15,000 would go to the airport fund, because we assumed that's where all the funds came for the original purchase. We did locate the original funding memo that did the original breakdown, which is also included in the packet that you have before you. When you look at what the local share of the tractor sale was, the bulk of that came from general fund. So 90% came from general fund, a little under 10% came from the airport fund. So what we're gonna do is make the recommendation to council that funding percentages are retained on our local share. So the airport fund will get $1471.95 deposited in it, and then the remainder of that local share will just stay in the capital equipment fund, because we're basically, that's where it came from, so we're just gonna leave it there. So right now, what I'm looking for would be a recommendation to city council to approve the sale of the tractor. And then if that is the recommendation from the airport commission tonight, council on Monday has on their agenda, it's sort of I'd like to say it's a masterclass in government bureaucracy, the process that we have to go through to sell the tractor, purchase the tractor, make the fund transfer, and make the MnDOT payment authorization. So there's a 4-step process that we'll walk through. But this does take and fulfill all of our grant obligations for this airport tractor. MnDOT's happy with it, the city's happy with it, and Public Works is purchasing the tractor and will be using it to take care of some additional work that they've been tasked with doing recently. So it's been about, I want to say 10 months since we started working on this, so it's finally good to bring the resolution here before the end of the year on a purchase price that we brought to MnDOT back in March. But at least we're here, and now the airport tractor will be, is teed up, ready to be sold, so.
And we're absolutely sure that that money came from the general fund and not,
Yeah,
before
there's a
we-
memo in here, and you can actually see, there's a staff report dated September 23rd, 2013. And this report goes through, it says state share, 82,000, local share, 37,358. And then if you go further down, it breaks it down, 33,692 came from equipment notes, which is general fund, and 3,600 came from the airport fund. And then you can see those transfers on the next page,
okay.
the general fund balance transfer. So again, wanted to verify that's where the funds came from, so we wanted to make sure those get allocated back to where they need to go.
I move that we recommend approval of the sale of the airport tractor per Dan's numbers here to the council.
We have a motion to approve the sale of the tractor from Mr. Schmidt. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Husnick
And then I'd like
seconds
to
it.
make a comment before we vote.
Yes, please make a comment.
this tractor thing has been a source of heated debate out there for no reason whatsoever. And I'm really glad to see the thing is resolved and done with. You know, for one thing, there was always been a misrepresentation of exactly where that money came from.
Right.
Well, now this clears it up.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
clearly.
And so, as far as what Dan's been working on for a long, long time, and not the bureaucratic process of not accepting a dealer's quote on it, which turned out to be the one number we're using anyways, is unbelievable, but that's just, bureaucracy, I guess, but I'm glad to see the thing gone, and I'm glad to see it resolved.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Lynch, any comments or additional thoughts?
I'm good. No
Okay,
comments.
Mr. Schmidt, any additional thoughts? So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There are no nays. It passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, on this second page, I had it, kind of brought it up at the beginning of the meeting here. How did this come about, Dan?
It's like, that might have been notes that John had on the agenda. I just saw
Mr.
it.
Schmidt, what is the second page?
Of the agenda.
Of the agenda tonight?
Where it starts out with airport budget. And the reason I brought it up is because of the lawn tractor thing that's been floating around the airport for years, and nobody even knows where it came from.
No, this is just my personal notes. This should not have been included in the agenda at all.
Okay, it just got printed along with it.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
printed out
because-
whatever,
Okay.
the file that came, I just printed it.
No,
so-
this is just my personal notes.
Yeah, because the one thing that kind of concerned me was the fact that the city would be responsible for annual maintenance and stuff.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
go there.
No,
No,
This-
no,
this
no,
machine
no,
has-
no, this is just my personal notes. This is nothing
All right.
even official. It shouldn't have been printed out. It's my fault that happened. It's not
Well-
your fault, it's my fault.
I'm going to put you in chains for that. Okay.
As well I should.
I just want to make sure.
Well I
that,
should. That is not even official business.
Are there any other items for this evening's meeting?
Just a quick update on the arrival departure building. I was out last Friday and installed a new computer out there for those that want to print flight plans or weather reports. There is a second computer that's out there, no cost to the airport. That was actually surplus equipment that we had here that I just repurposed out there. It fully is functioning, the printer is working and the computer is working. So it's sitting right next to the weather computer that's out in the little office out there at the AD building. And hopefully within the next week or two, I will start getting some materials into that display case that's out there. I've just started going through some of those materials that we got out of the old house. So I'll get those put out there hopefully in the next week or so. I know one of the shelves that was in there was kind of balanced precariously on one of the pins, and they were gonna get a different pin in there just to make sure when I went in there, I didn't cause the glass shelf to crash. So once that's in there, we'll get some materials in those display
great.
cases.
Anything else?
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to advise the commission about an event that happened last night. Apparently several weeks ago, Rich Ivanfelt, I'm bashing that, invited the Forest Lake Fire Department to the airport for a tutorial and an overview of the Forest Lake Airport. The fire chief accepted, and last night we had 30-plus firefighters in attendance for an overview. Chris Olson, the owner of Hangar Number 1, he was the host, and Hangar 1 last night was staged with 7 different aircraft types. They displayed, it ranged from a corporate twin to a 2-seater Champ. Rich spent about 30 minutes reviewing to the firefighters, the airport layout, access routes. He talked a little bit about hangar constructions. You know, he talked about the fact that the doors are so robust you couldn't go through them. So if you wanted to access the building, it might be best to go through, because they're a pole barn, through the walls. He also talked too about the doors, some of them cantilever off the building, so if the building is compromised, it might not be wise to park anything near that door, it could come down. He also, hangar construction and some airplane design issues that might be of interest for a first responder. So he talked a little bit about how much fuel we carry, where the tanks are located, some of the pillars that might have both electrical and fuel, so cutting them would be a bad idea. You know, battery locations, that kind of thing. So after he was through about 35 minutes, we went down into smaller groups of 5, And they kind of went from airplane to airplane, and the firefighters had a chance to ask us, you know, how would I stop this if it was running? You know, one guy made a comment that I thought was fun. He said, you know, kind of everything like the throttle and the fuel shut off is all pulled out. And if you don't know anything, just kind of pulling levers out. The firefighters were there for a little over 2 hours, and they all agreed it was worthwhile. And they welcomed future learning events. So I think from a benefit, there were certain people there last night that had never been on the airport property. When Rich would talk a little bit about access to the north hangar, Echo, that they couldn't come through because the fence there had a padlock on it. A couple of those young bucks said that padlock wouldn't have stopped them. They were gonna come right through. So anyway, again, like I said, it was worthwhile. The firefighters were there for longer than we expected. And they welcomed the opportunity to you know, have future events and learn more. We weren't gonna bring this up because I think it was somewhat addressed by Dave Adams, but the firefighters had one concern, and they were told that that electrical building, when they looked at it, they said it looks just like a plain shed. And if we were to go in there rambunctiously thinking we were gonna put out a hay bale or something like that, we might hit some of that electrical company or electrical equipment, and that might be an issue for us. Somebody did talk to Dave Adams, and I didn't hear it, so I'll paraphrase, but he said that the power ender is 480 volt, 3-phase, and that it's not required by any ANSI or OSHA regulations to market as the electrical. So I guess maybe if Silas was available next time, is there like a protocol for that type of equipment to have some type of notification that there's electricity in there?
What would be wrong with that, whether it's required or not? What would be wrong with just putting a
Let's just go ahead and do
caution
it.
high voltage or something in
Well,
there?
what they're saying is, to them, it looked like a shed.
Yeah.
They
No, I
find a
understand that,
lawnmower in there and a bale of hay, so.
Seems to me we could just put a sign up there and get it done with.
And then the other issue, and they didn't inspect it because it was quite dark last night. And I think the next time we hold this get-together for a learning event, we do it in the summer where it stays light out long enough for them to get the lay of the land. Because they did have questions on how they would access, you know, certain parts of it. And again, Rich was very detailed, saying that there's a water runoff the north side, and you really can't run through there because it's all, you know, rip-rap, and it's not easily on foot. We talked about that walking path that's on the south west side, that the great access to the backside. So I think that would be a concern the next time we do it in the daylight so they can see it. We offered them, anytime you see a hangar door open, you can say you're a firefighter, and everybody in this air park would be grateful to show you around. And then they had a concern about the fuel station having markings on all 4 corners of the fuel vessels themselves. And Rich called me, he went out there after he heard about that, and there is flammable 100 low lead octane on all 4 sides, so we're good there too. So if we could do a sign, and again, I'm paraphrasing for Dave Adams, but he said he didn't want to draw attention to it, because sometimes if you do things like that, it kind of brings in unwanted outside intervention. But just to have a little placard on there's like electrical equipment behind this wall, or I don't know.
The email I saw from that, you know, and again, I don't have it up in front of me, but it was something I thought had to do with high voltage. You know, maybe like if there's something that says warning electrical equipment contained with, you know, it's something that you can just put, because I have seen that in other, not airports, but other
yeah.
just, you
It's
know,
done all the time.
around, when I used to do work in a different industry, we'd see those, you know, on site, so.
I can't see where that would draw unwanted attention. I just don't understand.
And if that building looked like it was electrical, I mean, it looks like a shed. So, anyway, I thought it was well attended. And again, like I said, they're welcome to do it again. And if we can get the firefighters more involved out there, I think it's gonna be beneficial for us there and those that have to go respond.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's great.
Do you want to move forward with some kind of signage on the shed?
I'll follow up on it. I got a note here. I'll follow up on it.
I'm really sorry for that second page of my personal notes. I'm gonna fix that.
Anything else from the floor this evening? Mr. Schmidt, anything? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Lynch makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. We don't need to discuss that any further, I don't think. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned at 6:55.